Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that guides, highlights, explains and brings awareness to all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. My name is Debbie. I'm your host today. We have a very special guest speaker on today, Bruce Bromley from SDA Consulting. Welcome, Bruce.
Thank you, Debbie.
It's wonderful to have you on the show. Yeah. So, we've heard about you for ages. You've been very, I guess, intrinsic to the development of SDA from the early days with everything that you've done with your organisation, Equal Access Group. So we're very excited to have you and to learn about your journey, I guess, through the SDA world and just accessibility world in general. So maybe if you want to start by telling us a bit about your organisation, Equal Access Group.
Sure. I formed Equal Access back probably about 17 years ago now as disability access consultant. So consulting to make sure the built environment is accessible for people with disabilities. So anything from retail through to commercial projects, offices, public transport, hotels, resorts, and pretty much everything else in between. So it's making it accessible for the full range of disabilities. It's not just a case of we have a ramp out the front and we have a toilet, we've ticked our box. It's really looking at a holistic approach to accessibility. Following on from that question we kept getting asked is how do we get people out of buildings in an emergency? We've got a building code that says we need to get them in, and even now we still don't have any prescriptive requirements in our building code to address the evacuation of people with disabilities. So we set up EvacuLife and initially started importing products from Italy, evacuation chairs. But then that side of our business has grown and grown, both as products and also for consulting. And I also sit on the standards committee for the development of the emergency workplace evacuations, Australian standards, and sort of applying a lot of that learning into SDA too at the moment. Then we have SDA Consulting, which is the capacity I'm chatting today about. We're both SDA assessors, we've got a team of assessors, and we're also SDA property managers where we manage properties across Australia. And the last bit is Access and Safety, which sells a range of products that both meet the accessibility requirements and also safety requirements.
Fantastic. Wow. So that's a lot of stuff that you're doing there, Bruce. How did your journey begin in SDA? Obviously, you've been involved in the accessibility for much longer period.
So I was one of the first people that was registered as an LHA assessor. So I'm LHA 02, and I'm not even sure who 01 is. So I've known the guys in it, LHA for quite a while.
And LHA being the Livable
Housing Australia. Yeah.
Yep.
So even in Victoria, it's never taken off like it has in New South Wales particularly, but we got the inside knowledge and running that with SDA, there was going to be a lot of work, both for new builds and also assessments of existing facilities, legacy stock, basic stock, to now allow them to get funding. So we put a bit of concentration in the business to head in that direction. We started doing a bit of blogging as we were going on our knowledge and learning, because again, we'd get, quite a few phone calls about it. Then when we could see it was really starting to take off, we set up SDA Consulting, set up the website, and anyone that visits the site, we take a very much participant first approach, but also part of that is to share our learnings. We're not sort of organisation that keeps our cards to our chest. We'd much rather share what we know so we get proper results for participants. And then during that whole process, I was approached I wanted to be one of the co-authors of the design standards, and which of course I said yes. And here we are today.
Fantastic. I'm going to go back to the design standards in a little bit, but okay, so what have you seen? Obviously, you've been involved in SDA from the inception. What have you seen in the sector that has I guess, created opportunities for more involvement by stakeholders to contribute to SDA growth?
I'm going to say a month ago, the new pricing arrangements. So up until
Yes.
up until COVID, COVID hit, which was around the time because I was starting to do training workshops around Australia on the new design standard. So we'd done Perth, we'd done Darwin, COVID hit, and we really didn't get to finish that off because we do a lot of training with investors and developers on how to construct desirable SDA. But the whole approach was, doing the bare minimums in a lot of cases with developers. And we were continually pushing, if you do that, or people going straight to the right-hand column of the pricing arrangements, HPS, OOA, we're going to make a killing and we'll go out to new subdivisions, buy lots of cheap land and, we're going to get a 20% return and it's going to be a win-win for everybody. Whereas, as time has shown, that's really not the case. And, so I think with the new pricing arrangements, it's letting a lot of people off the hook now who were expecting to build HPS and make a killing in HPS. But now if they have to drop down to FA or IL, they're still going to get, a decent return and it's probably rescued them. So definitely since the new arrangements have come out, inquiries have increased again. And, we're working with a number of developers who are looking at converting apartment developments into incorporate some IL or 100% IL because it's really not a lot of change to the original footplate, or floor plate.
Absolutely. Like, we totally agree with you. We saw that problem very early on as well in terms of what was being built, simply based on the prices that were being put out there. And we've just been gobsmacked by the changes in the prices and really pleased for investors and for the sector in general. I think this is really going to encourage the right kind of development now.
Yeah, I think they still need to do some work on robust because to build robust, you can't use rates similar to IL. Simple as that.
Absolutely, yeah. So obviously you've advocated a lot for robust design and fire safety as well. But let's talk about the robust design. So we saw that as well, that the price increases for robust were relatively minimal and didn't seem to address the issues that people were facing in trying to design and develop robust. And that seems to have not really changed.
No, you might have to sense me now, but most of the robots we see coming through our office is crap. It really is substandard. It's been developed by people who have zero understanding of what a robust participant is and what robust participants' needs are. And, I shake my head when I see impact check's the favourite material. We're going to put impact check on the wall. That's perfect for robust. And I've got a good photo album here of impact check damage by participants, which is contrary to that. So the whole approach of building SDA as a almost standard residential really doesn't work. You need our minimum specs. What we recommend is either having a plywood or a chipboard behind villa board for wall linings, although we've now got a new product. We did a bit of work with Altro. So this product can actually be applied to impact check and that prevents damage. It's similar to what's used in hospitals. But you need things like steel door frames. Forget timber door frames. They just won't stand up to the abuse. Solid core doors, core stainless steel butt hinges, and then you'll probably have a good show of not having doors pulled off. We've got one project where we had to get internal security doors fitted to OOA areas to protect the OOAs. And it's also very dependent on the controls and the level of disability the individuals have. So some of them are mild within robust, and most of the time their behaviours can be controlled and can be restricted, to not be damaging. But we have some participants which are very reactionary and very damaging. And, if they pick impact check or anything like that, they've only got to break the surface of the product, which again is very easy. And then they'll just sit there and pick at it, pick. Then you'll get not full sheets of paper, the paper paste being pulled off. Sliding doors on wardrobes, no, we don't want to put those on because they'll just be pulled off and, used, potentially weaponised. Standard joinery in bathrooms with cupboards that can be pulled off. There's just so many flaws with the way Robust has been developed. There was house on one of the Facebook forums, immaculately decorated as improved livability, and as soon as we saw it, everything in the house pretty much could be weaponized. Furniture in most cases needs to be bolted to the floor. Couches, tables, chairs, thermostats, you need to put cages on them. Smoke alarms, we need to put cages on them. Any fan coil units outside, don't have them at ground level. Put them up on the roof if you can, or at least out of participants' reach. But there's so many things for Robust that needs to be implemented that really isn't. And we're seeing with the substandard Robust we're managing, the participants' damage occurs, then the rectification has to be paid out of the participants' plans, meaning that money's now not available for support and care. So it's sort of counterproductive not having prescriptive requirements for Robust.
Yeah. So, okay, when we're looking at the design guidelines, and I know you did say that you were involved in the development of them, do you feel that there is a lot more that needs to go into those guidelines for the Robust to rectify some of these issues?
Oh, absolutely. We did have requirements prepared, but timeframes, the delivery of the standard, thanks to the minister at the time, pulled out about 2 months of the delivery process. We did have some prescriptive things in there, but there just wasn't enough time for consultation and industry review to keep it in there, which is why we have sort of performance clauses, but no real understanding on how to achieve those performance clauses.
Okay. So that leads me on to the design guidelines. Now, we've heard that there is meant to be a review of these happening this year. And yet in most recent discussions with other access consultants, nothing seems to have progressed in that area as yet. Do you know anything about the NDIA's plans for that review?
Yeah, a few months ago, we had a SDA assessors update meeting, which was chaired by the NDIA, going through a lot of the clarifications and things that were uncertain. And they said that mid to late the second half of the year that they'd be putting a brief together to do that. I'm not aware if that's happened or not to date, but hopefully, it'll happen very soon. So
you're still hoping it's going to be on track for...
Yeah, we've been collecting Farah Madden, who was the lead author, who's got a forum on her website for SDA assessors, and we've got one of the forum threads in there, what we need to, ideas, suggestions and all that, the design standards. So as things come up, clarifications or where improvements need to be made, and so assessors are adding to that. So we've already got quite a sizable list. I would think, there will be a lot of industry consultation this time. We can just sit tight and wait at the moment.
And hopefully that will happen sooner rather than later, because it certainly is needed. Yeah, I mean, this is only the first set of guidelines that we're still working with, and they're quite comprehensive, but there's a lot lacking.
Oh, there is. When you're writing a standard, when you're writing a standard from scratch, it's hard to capture
get it right first time. Of course. Yeah.
It did go to industry for consultation, and we did get some feedback, and what was applicable, what relevant, we did incorporate that. But I think now industry sees how critical SDA is. We should get a bit more engagement next time around.
Looking forward to that. So tell us more about fire safety. I know you're also quite an advocate for that, as are we.
Yeah, going probably about 2016, 2017, I think I started blogging about fire and life safety and having people with, as the SDA definition is, extreme functional impairment and very high support needs. Putting them into a standard house without any fire life safety was utter madness. And I've followed that up with about another 4 or 5 blog posts. So anyone wants to read up about that, jump on the website. I shake my head, we keep pushing class 3 as much as we can. I got some advice last week, and I've actually sent an email to my contact at the ABCB about who can actually build class 3 dwellings, because I've had one building surveyor say, no, it can only be built by commercial buildings of builders, which if that was the case, going down a class 3 approach, I think is going to be issues in terms of being able to deliver demand. But don't quote me on that. I might come back to you on that. But just having something that is safe, for participants to physically live in. Yeah, fire sprinklers are a must. You've got to have fire sprinklers in SDA. And we've taken the approach for high physical support and fully accessible SDA that we will not property manage those sort of properties if they don't have fire sprinklers. We made that decision right at the start. I'd love to be able to say it for the other two categories. Fortunately, with robust, it's usually a 1-to-1 ratio, one participant, one OIA. So you've got a level of safety there. Improved livability is a real compromise because people will go, oh, people can walk out. That's not a problem. They'll be fine. But if they don't have care there, confusion, cognitive impairment and all that may prevent them from being able to know what to do in an emergency. And we saw with Kew Cottages.
Understand what's going on, that sort of thing.
Correct. Yeah, to actually get out in an emergency. So for me, sprinklers should be across all three, whether class 3, all 4 categories, but whether should be a class 3 build, I'm not 100% convinced. I think there's room for maybe a 1B plus or a 1C type build, which incorporates fire sprinklers, maybe smoke seals and the like, because you're not dealing with a larger scale accommodation facility as you would have in aged care. So SDA 5 participant, which we don't really have now, and 2 or 3 participant, probably class 3 is overkill. So I think there's got to be a sweet spot in the middle there, and I believe the ABCB are looking at those options. But at the end of the day, if you don't have sprinklers or don't have anything, I would be suggesting to building owners, seal providers to stand at the door of each participant and say, if smoke alarms take a minute to minute and a half to activate, then the house becomes a fire trap and flash over it 2.5 minutes. How many of those participants would have got out of the building in that time? The answer is none. The fallback on using OOA to evacuate participants is foolish. It's not the OOA's responsibility to evacuate. Their job is to get out of the premises as quick as they can. We suggest a few things, that they take a kit with them with all the participants listed in the property and give that to the first responders. But, there's a lot of conditions, and we've been doing training sessions for some of the larger providers on how to actually plan for evacuations and plan for emergencies. And they've realised at the end of it that if they were to have fires in some of their supported facilities, that their participants wouldn't actually survive, because there's no way you can actually get them out if you don't have sprinklers. Sprinklers aren't always going to put fires out, but they're going to control it and they're going to slow the spread. And you can get the emergency services there in a few minutes. You're going to be in a lot better position than if you didn't. So I think fire safety is one of the big items that really has to be addressed at the moment.
So obviously in the new price arrangements, there was a significant uptake for properties that do have fire sprinklers. Do you see them potentially being made compulsory in the future?
I think they will. I think the NDIA not doing it would be negligent, I think. And when you go back to the definitions, and there's something again I flagged a few years ago, the definitions of SDA participants, for me it has to be, class 3, then what used to be subsection 7 or supported accommodation, where it says that where you have 10% or more of participants living there that need either assistance in their day-to-day activities or to evacuate, you have no choice but to apply class 3, because SDA isn't 10%, it's 100% of participants, because they either have an extreme functional impairment or very high support needs. So that's the only answer you have.
Yep. Here. So, well, we're also huge advocates for fire sprinklers and fire safety, and hopefully there's going to be some kind of a clarification in the near future on what is required.
Even forgetting the NDIA making a ruling that it's mandatory, I think in some respects, building surveyors that don't apply that category are negligent. So I think we just need one fire, where it always happens after a tragedy, that everyone will start pointing fingers and go, how did we allow this to happen? Why? Why is this the case? One of my blog posts I've got, subheading is, there will be fatalities, not if but when. And I think that's simple as it is for SDA at the moment without sprinklers.
Yeah. I guess the issue people are going to be thinking of, how is this going to be made retrospective? And if so, how could that work? We know that retrofit is going to be a big job.
Easy. There's a number of as I said, we won't take properties that don't have fire sprinklers. there's a number of installers. You're looking about 22, 23 to retrofit residential sprinklers in a 1B. So it's not big dollars over the whole scale of a project. So if you're doing it class 3, yes, the sprinkler requirements are different, and you've got fire indicator panels, you've got all those additional expenses. And this,
but if it's not a class 3,
you don't have to meet those requirements. And this is where I was saying you almost need this hybrid of 1B class 3, provide a suitable solution that's not cost prohibitive. So retrospective install, I don't think is that bad. 19,000 for a sprinkler install in a new 1B as it's being built. So I think neither of those costs are cost prohibitive. And any properties we have coming through our office, we push them very hard to put sprinklers in them for that very reason. Retrofitting class 3 wouldn't be feasible because your wall construction, your compartmentation wouldn't comply.
Okay, well, that's an interesting aspect because we've heard other people saying it would just be prohibitive in cost. It would be too hard. Where are you going to house the participants while the retrofitting is being done? All these sorts of issues. And I guess, it has to be worked around.
It's done when the participants are in there. It's just done during the day. It's as long as you can get access to your roof space, they run all the lines, everything, because it's not even copper piping. It's like a poly pipe with the sprinkler heads in, concealed. Yeah, all works beautifully. So,
okay, well, that's really good to hear because we've certainly been told otherwise that it's just going to be too hard. So maybe not so.
Not at all.
Wonderful.
No excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like it. So, Bruce, what do you want, obviously, apart from better robust design, better design guidelines and fire sprinklers, what else do you want to see more of in SDA?
When clients come to us, and we'll have two types of clients. One is just we want these certified, or clients will come and say, what should we provide or how should we provide it? Bare minimum is separate en-suites. Yeah. And I'll say, you want to share a bathroom toilet with a total stranger, as simple as that. And as soon as you ask developers that question, the answer is no. So separate en-suites. If you have more than 2 participants in an SDA, always put in a second living space. And I know I've heard men talk about on some of the podcasts, the 2-person model, which ideal is great, but try getting sills. Sills often will resist 2-participant dwellings because it's hard for them to provide the surface at those rates. So for the sills, we're finding the sweet spot for them is minimum 3. Some of them will want to go to 4, but we try and not go more than 3. And I think a properly designed, spacious house, a couple of living spaces, so you've got your family TV areas in one spot, there may be a quiet area if you wanted to read a book or have friends over. I think at the moment is a good compromise. And there's no simple answer really to that. Height adjustable overhead cupboards, nothing annoys me more than when we're doing assessments and we see high physical support, not a lot of underbench cupboards and all these overhead cupboards, and you go, how are you expecting a participant to actually access them? And there's a couple of good kitchen product suppliers in the market that provide units where you might have half the overhead cupboards can actually lower down at the push of a button. To me, let's do that. It's not big ticket items, small items, but it adds to the desirability because you want to make your property more desirable to the one that's being built down the road or a suburb across.
Precisely.
You want to attract participants. So incorporate extra things. Home automation's another, for me, is a no-brainer. Not for robust and, lesser extent IL, but for the other two, home automation, it's not expensive now. It used to be C-bus systems and all that. You're in the 30, 40,000s, but probably under 10 grand, you can do mostly home automate the PowerPoints, lighting and all that in a house. So again, it's not big ticket items. So they're the sorts of things that I would love to see as become even standard.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. I think those are things that we always recommend with our builders, with our investors to, as we say, future-proof by going, so far above the minimum standards as is feasible, because that way you're going to have a property that people are going to want to live in.
Yep, participant first, and they want their forever home to live in because they're not going to be interested in moving out. And again, that comes back to the property management also. If there's damage, get it rectified quickly. If there's issues, get them rectified quickly. Budget every 5 or 6 years to repaint the house. Don't just let it wear down because participants have the choice and they're going to go, oh, nicer one up the road. My plan's up, I'm going to move. So
Yep, that's right. You just mentioned property management. Now, you recently moved into SDA property management as a SDA provider.
Yeah, that was one of my harebrained ideas about 18 months ago, 2 years ago. I said to my business partner, Karina, hey, why don't we get into property management? Because all our clients were going, do you know anyone to property manage? And I said, it can't be that difficult. Boy, was I wrong. But no, we're very well set up. We've got Nicole on board, who's our senior property manager. So she's had 15 years experience in property management. No idea of SDA when she started with us. So big learning curve. Then we've got Carla, then Karina oversees it. So yeah, we've managed properties across Australia, from Townsville, South Australia, Melbourne, obviously. We've got some coming up in Sydney. So yeah, it's just another service we provide. We're probably a little bit unique to most SDA property managers in that we are also registered real estate agents. We don't buy, sell properties or do anything non-SDA, but it means we operate with trust accounts. So there's full transparency for clients. We get audited every year because we hear so many horror stories of clients saying, I've had participants in my house since May last year. We still haven't received a payment yet. So yeah, we've taken a very different approach to that.
Yeah. So how many properties have you got around the country currently under management?
Oh, quite honestly, I wouldn't have a clue. Karina and Nicole manage that. I know there's a lot, and we're probably getting 2 or 3 on a week at the moment. So, yeah.
So you just do the property management. You're not the SDA provider.
No, SDA.
You are.
So we're
SDA provider and
correct.
property manager. Yeah.
So 2 directors, myself, I manage the certification, registration, compliance, design advice, part of the business. Karina manages the property management side. So I think she's coming up to speak with Ben soon anyway. So
yes,
hit it with those questions. So
we will. We will talk all about the property management then, because that's something that I don't think we've really discussed on our podcast before. That it's quite a specific thing, certainly very different to regular residential property management. That's for sure. And there's a lot of other aspects that need to be considered. So we won't go into that today. That's for another episode.
Be good to get Nicole on board because she's probably the best one to give you the comparison between the two, actually. So
yeah, sounds like a plan for sure. So Bruce, I guess what next for Equal Access Group and specifically for SDA Consulting Australia?
I think we just roll with the flow at the moment. The demand for assessing and certification is progressively increasing. The demand for property management is increasing. I've always been a believer in diversifying, because if you have one part of the business go quiet, you've got other areas, and that's really where we've got the 4 segments of our business. But I think we're really in the consolidation phase now, and we don't want to compromise the quality of service we provide. We've got, I like systemizing. We need to have systems, and the software we use, the management and everything, that's so critical, and it allows us to expand and take on properties. And when we get to the point of enough properties in particular states, we'll then, appoint property managers in those other locations. At the moment, we handle it all out of Melbourne quite easily. So that's probably where we are at the moment. It's more consolidation and growing.
Fair enough, yeah. So, and I just want to touch lastly on, you mentioned a few times through our chat, your blogs. And I know that when we first started, we came across a lot of your blogs and other information on your website, which we found really invaluable in teaching us a lot about SDA. And as you said, you're all about putting the information out there. So, you're still writing blogs. You're still very much involved in that.
Yeah, anytime there's pretty much legislation change or where we can see improvements, we blog. So just hit the website, SDA Consulting, and click on the learning link. We just put posts up, sign up to our newsletter, and anything changes or new directions being given, we will provide advice on that. The first post, actually, we've got a workshop on the 30th of August dealing with emergency life safety organisations understanding their liability and risk for providing fire safe SDA. So we've already delivered that to a number of large organisations, and we've had a few people asking if they can attend workshops. So we've decided just run one that individuals or small organisations can attend. So the details are also there for that.
Fabulous. So obviously the website is
sdaconsulting.com.au.
Great. And how else can people get in touch with you? Is that the best way?
Oh, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. We've got an SDA Consulting page on Facebook. I don't take personal contacts on that, but hit me up on LinkedIn. Just search for me. Should come up fairly quickly. So,
fantastic. And we'll have those links at the in the description of this episode if anybody does want to connect with Bruce on any level at all, to do with assessment or just information or your courses or I guess the SDA property management side of things.
Welcome the opportunity.
Fantastic. Any last words, thoughts you'd like to leave us with today, Bruce?
Discipline first. That's it. Discipline first. Yes, SDA is a investment or way of investing money and getting returns. And if you do it with a discipline first mindset, it's very hard to go wrong, I think. And that's whole about building desirable SDA.
Fantastic. Love it. Well, Bruce, thank you so much. Really enjoyed our chat today. And we look forward to having another session with SDA Consulting Australia very soon.
Excellent.
Learn more about what you guys do.
Thank you, Debbie. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.